to put some blood in his. I put some into yours, Zed, but that might have run out by now if you've not logged in yourself.
Oh no, I log in every day just to top it all up and turn stuff off and stuff. Right, how are we doing, Mehdi?
We're live.
You're live. All right, welcome. Let's see if I can remember what the hell we're doing. So, our session 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yep.
From memory, you've arrived in Los Angeles. You headed over to the bank to find in Long Beach to find that it was a dead end in the sense that the bank was no longer a bank; it had closed down. So you spent some time tracing the potential property and lockboxes and things that had come out of the bank, and it ended up at the FDIC, the Federal Department of something or other. I can't remember what it stands for, but it doesn't really matter. There you managed to sweet talk the rather grubby administrator who managed to bring you, or actually arranged to bring the lockbox over to his offices. And I think at a cost of Joseph taking him for dinner with his lovely wife to a rather nice, luxurious restaurant.
That's right.
Which is due tomorrow, game time.
And his secretary, who seems to be a bit enamoured for.
Oh yes, the secretary that rather likes the look of Mr. Joseph Westmore. Of course, though, this is the 1920s, and so 1930s, and so nothing will happen that is against the current morals of the world. Yeah, right.
So no morals, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I think we've left it with you returning back to Los Angeles, back to your hotels for the day. I'm trying to remember what you discovered from the lockbox. So you've got a book of accounting, which, as far as you know, is genuine, but it's all in code, and it will take a little bit of time for somebody to decode it.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of photographs. Those photographs show you lots of interesting scenes. There is an individual, a gentleman in every single photo that you believe could be Echevarria. You also find that Edgar Job is in two of them, really having a lot of enthusiasm in his participation of events that are depicted in said photos.
Yeah.
And I believe you also identified a B movie star.
Richard Spend.
And that Richard Spend
died in 1924.
That is correct. So you do have all the current information. That's as far as I've had my notes, which is good. So.
Yeah, Rolf was decoding the ledgers. Because you had cryptography, didn't you?
Yeah.
I've got the accountancy side to try and make sense of it once you've decoded them.
All right, so over to yourselves. What is it?
Is it the 8th of November?
It is the 6th of November currently.
Oh, okay. I've got the 7th as when I put down B-Spend actor in photos. So, right, okay.
I'm not keeping track of dates, just info.
Well, according to the in-game calendar, it says the 7th. It says the 6th.
Yeah, I've got the 6th of November when we picked up the contents of the safe deposit box.
Yeah, that's right.
From FDIC and returned to hotel. And then this...
No, so the 7th at 8 p.m. is when the... when the dinner date is supposed to happen.
Right, okay. So, yeah, we've got back on the 6th. We looked at the photos. You started on the ledgers. But wasn't it going to take at least a full day to get through the ledgers or something?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
The best part of the day, anyway. So, evening of the 6th. Well, late afternoon of the 6th.
I'll try and help Ralph as much as I can and see if I can pick up any clues as to how to decrypt things for helping in the future.
Okay. No problem.
I think I was spending some XP as well, wasn't I?
Yeah, I think you'd all got your XP.
Because we're on 6, aren't we?
Yes.
Did I spend it already? I must have spent mine already, but I can't remember what's on.
Yeah, it doesn't really track it, which is a shame.
I'm just putting it in my notes.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing to do. So you know
Yeah,
what you
I
spent
should
it.
have done really.
Why do I add that? I had it on the edit, I don't know.
Actually, I know how to tell. I'll look at the PDF of the and compare them.
Okay. So, did we say it was a 1 point or a 2 point spend?
For the cryptography, it was a 1 point spend.
Right.
What? On the PDF, it's got numbers in brackets. Like I've got cryptography 0, but I've got 1 in brackets. Does that mean I've got 1 in accounting?
It means if we were playing a 2-player game, you would have 1 point.
Right, okay, that's fine.
So the numbers in brackets represent the pre-built characters for a lower number of players. I think it's 2 players.
That's fine. Up to 2.
So, is there anything else anybody wants to do this evening, the following day, while Ralph and, to a lesser degree, Alfred are trying to decrypt the book?
I'd like to investigate the minibar.
You can investigate the minibar, you can investigate the big bar, you can investigate the large bar.
I would like to go and maybe go down to the bar and... No, cancel that.
Right, I think I found where I've spent them on.
One second. Okay, yeah, you can investigate the minibar and...
Sorry, I'd like... Because Marv, his wife and Helen are coming here for a meal tomorrow night, aren't they?
Correct, yes.
In which case...
That's right, because he wants to treat his wife to potentially seeing some rich, famous film stars like George Clooney of the 1930s.
Yes. So I'd like to go down to the reception and book a nice table with look around and see what the best vantage point table is going to be.
Yeah, you can do that. Not a problem. So
find out if they've got anybody famous booked in and see if you can get near them.
Exactly. Yeah. Brilliant.
Didn't you say there's Laurel and Hardy would use to turn up or something? With one
Laurel and Hardy, yes. Correct.
Did we have an XP spend last time? We did.
I know I've spent points and I've got some that I don't remember spending the first time, so I think I must have spent some.
Oh, actually, spending it. We didn't get any XP last time, did we? No.
For last session, you would have got 2 XP if I didn't give you it.
Ah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we're on 8 then.
Yeah, essentially, you're going to get about 2 a session, typically speaking.
Let's work out how many I've got here.
So, in attendance, so you kind of talk to one of the like the concierge, and you know, you over a few hours you kind of schmooze him a little bit, and you get to know him, and you learn that you've got an Esther Ralston. Let's see when. Make sure I've got my. I think I've got my dates correct. Hold on. Let's have a look. Crikey. Some of the actors from here in this age are classic names.
Okay, just to make you aware, I've updated my reassurance by 1 point and my flattery by 1 point.
Got it. Yes, and in particular, so there are 3 tables this evening that are catering to female clientele. In particular, you have a Greta Garbo.
Nice.
You have a Claudette Colbert. And an Esther Ralston, who all will be in attendance.
Sorry, Claudia Ralston.
Claudia Colbert and Esther Ralston.
Fantastic.
She is, let's see, so she released a film last year called To the Last Man. And that essentially to date has been, she's pretty much been known for her silent movies, and in fact she will be in the presence of little who would say little, no, it wasn't Little Mars, was it? It was that's too late. I was completely wrong. Laurel and Hardy. She will be in the presence of Mr. Hardy and Mr. Laurel.
Oh, lovely.
To the Last Man, was that like the 20s version of Debbie Does Dallas?
Something like that. Yeah. It was a Western.
Oh, thematic porn then. Excellent.
Yeah.
Sweaty.
Okay, it looks like I'm missing a skill point to spend.
Yeah, so I'll aim to get a table close to where they're going to be seated for tomorrow night.
In fact, Buster Crabbe will be with Esther Ralston.
Oh, Buster Crabbe is one of my favourites too.
No, Buster Crabbe, so Buster Crabbe, along with Esther Ralston.
Flash Gordon.
You've got Greta Garbo, Claudette Colbert, and then you've got Laurel and Hardy. It's quite a packed evening for interesting people to see.
Awesome. Yeah, so I will probably spend some coinage to make sure we get a table next to theirs.
Yeah. So what the head waiter suggests is that he'll put you in a table right bang in the middle, with where all of these famous people will be kind of almost in like a semicircle around you.
And I'll thank him profusely and chuck him a few dollars.
No worries.
Do you want
Did
to
we-
spend a credit rating point? Or
Yeah, sure. Spend a credit rating point. Why not? Did we? Bear in mind, you have 5 from a separate pool that you can all spend to represent the $500 that you
Of
were
course.
given
I wrote down
by.
2.
Oh, sorry, 2. Yes, sorry, it was 2. Yeah, not 5. Yeah, so you can spend that to represent your stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I'll use
was
that.
going to say, I'd just quit the job now and go home because that's over double my credit rating anyway.
So
I don't.
Buster Crabbe's last film, most recent film, was Tarzan the Fearless, where he begins his career as Tarzan. Just so you know.
Just before Johnny Weissmuller takes over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Once I've done that, I'll go back to the apartment and
Okay.
and just relax and watch these bookworms do their bookwormy things.
All right. So let's skip forward to the following day. Right. So while Ralph is busy doing his stuff, is there anything the following day, so on the 7th, that Joseph and or Alfred want to do? Anything worth attending to, or are you going to just kind of have a day off?
I'm going to watch Ralph and try and figure out how he's actually doing it,
Okay.
so that I can get the points in cryptography at some point.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Bear in mind, the 7th is a Saturday, which means the university will not be available to you until the 9th. Okay. Anyway, all right. So by the end of sort of late afternoon, gets on to sort of 5 o'clock on November 7th. So late in the afternoon on the Saturday. Ralph finally exclaims, "A grapefruit." And Alfred, you've spent enough time sort of shadowing him and watching him scribble his notes and things that you have an okay understanding, and I will give you a justification there to be able to start to increase your cryptography, should you wish to do so from an XP point of view.
Yeah, will do.
However, you have accounting as well, don't you?
Yeah, I've got accounting already. I've got 2 points on that.
So the first thing that comes to mind is that, even though it's been deciphered and the code is cracked, at no point does it mention any name. But what you do see is, in a number of places, you see references to things like black and town car. I believe you already found the kind of the slip of the postcard that was in the cover of the book, yes?
Yeah, it says Echevarria is black and Buchwald is town car.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Town car, from both of your perspective, as you kind of put your heads together and look at it from an accountant's perspective, you believe Town car is the accountant who was responsible for keeping the books.
okay.
It identifies a number of inventories and sales through a network of individuals purely known by code names: Slick, Moses, Umbrella, Stag, all kinds of names. There is a product identified in the books by the letter N, tracked, it would seem, in very small volumes of liquid ounces. The books that you have detail the time period between August 22 and July 1924. A unit volume of N looks roughly to fetch $3 of retail price. To give you some perspective, that's about the price of a car tyre or a pair of prescription glasses in the 1930s. So not cheap. It looks very much like so it just seems to track all of the sale and movement of this thing called N, sold in some kind of liquid ounce, and to a number of individuals with code names. And obviously the code names are repeated throughout the book. Sometimes, Slick might have 100 ounces, or 100 units, or 10 units, or 20 units. There's no, nobody's getting 50 units every month. It's a very fluctuating, almost like whatever it is they're selling, this substance is not necessarily easy to produce in a steady kind of, way. This ain't no Heisenberg. I don't know how much that helps you.
Back then, was opium in liquid form, or was it just the solid that you smoked type thing? Did you get liquid opium back then? I'm just thinking things that might be valuable.
Yes, because you had morphine, didn't you? Which was a form of opium.
Yeah.
Remember to delete your Google browse history.
That's the great thing about some of this. We did when we played Night's Dark Agents, the kind of stuff we were looking for through a browser. Anybody would be very suspicious of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could be something like that. At the moment, you don't have a lot of clues, as it were.
Probably a really good coffee.
Very possible. Very good coffee.
So Alfred, Ralph, what you're saying is that they're buying some substance at a very large cost.
Yeah. Whether it's an easy way to transport or to launder money, I don't know.
Probably an easier way to control cultists.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, if this is a drug, it could make them suggestive or
addictive.
Especially at these parties that we see the pictures of.
Yeah.
They're just drug fueled orgies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from what I've heard of these of drugs, it's one of those things that grabs you slowly by the sounds of it and makes you go back for more. So it keeps the cultists for these parties under their sway.
Indeed.
Is there any information about where it's coming from, or is it just purchasing orders?
Just seems to be a record of distribution. mostly.
There's nothing indicating where it's been sold or the locations or anything as to
No.
pickup points or drop-offs or anything.
What was
Is this across both books?
Yes.
Right, okay.
What was the last entry?
July 1922, late July.
Oh, right. So yeah.
No, sorry, late July 1924. Sorry, not 1922. The income that was coming from the sales would certainly be enough for somebody or some bodies to live off quite comfortably.
And is there any telltale of where that income was going? So it doesn't say to Black Cab or...
No, most of it goes to Echevarria. Most of it goes to Black.
Yeah.
So the accountant was town care. Was he getting a lot of money out of this as well, or
A little bit.
right? But he's entered.
Nothing in comparison to what Black gets. Not, he gets a tiny amount.
But they're the only two really ones that are getting anything out of this,
Correct.
according to the ledger. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we recognize the name Buckwald at all? He's not.
You don't recognise the
news
name.
or anything.
It doesn't mean it. No, it's not been in the news. No, it means nothing to you.
But did we say Buckwald equals town card? Did you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Which then equals accountant. How would we? I'd assume there's an organisation that keeps track of an accountant because you've got to be qualified.
Yeah.
Where would you kind of get that information? Or is it even available to someone like us?
Well, to be the Yellow Pages, somewhere like that.
You would. So it wouldn't necessarily be yellow. I mean, he could have an entry in the phone book, but it's. So some ideas, to Alfred's point, somewhere like the City Hall.
Yeah, that's assuming that.
So you could go, or looking in the phone book, you would find a listing for the Professional Organisation of Accountants in Southern California.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's there must be like a register.
Yeah,
I would have thought.
there would be.
Nobody on staff at UCLA is there called Buckwald.
Not that you can determine without going to UCLA, no.
Which we can't do till Monday.
It might be an idea for the first place to check. If Echevarria is kind of based around there, then what was the other guy's name?
The guy we're going to see. No.
Yeah.
No,
we're going to see someone who
was it
was
George Ayres or Avery or Anders?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I think you narrowed it down to George Ayres.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. And we've got an introduction with him, haven't we?
We've got an appointment, I think, haven't we?
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
So I've got written down here a Dr. McDunn.
Yeah, we spoke to Dr. McDunn about heirs.
That's right.
I get some crackers. Well,
1 second. Poorly child. Want some crackers.
It's a cracker.
This is a healthy-ish thing.
I'm sure he'd rather have chocolate or sweet, but no,
Yeah.
he's having crackers.
With Nutella on top.
Yeah, so you spoke to Dunn, who suggested you went in to talk to him.
Well, we're not going to find much of the information until Monday anyway.
Correct. There are still some things you could investigate. Most things are going to be closed, so... Okay.
Really, what we need is a list of. So, what we need to be doing from an accounting and point of view is listing all the people that have received this N product.
Well, their code names, yeah.
And their code names. So at some point we can then, if we do find anything out, we can tick them off because there may be another book somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start going through the books and making a tally of this person got this much over the period of time, and breaking it down into an easier way to keep track of.
Correct.
So we can see who's had the most type of thing, and it'll give us an idea as to who are the wealthiest out of the people that are actually spending. Could one of them be this Richard Spend?
Yeah, I was trying to think Richard Spend, whether we can tie that down because he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we can get his financial records and match any payments, any monies that he's taken out.
You could. Financial records would be challenging, I think. But you could always. Spend is someone that you could research, right? So just, you could go to a newspaper office, look in their back catalogue, go to a tabloid.
Well, we could see who dealt with his estate.
Yeah.
And what the details of the will were. Possibly he's left it all to Echeverria. Who knows?
Yeah. That would be handy.
At which point you may get disgruntled, family members or something like that.
Okay. All right. So you can probably do some of that on the Saturday. The offices and things of various places you could probably still get access to on Saturday. Versus Sunday would be a definite no. So is there anywhere in particular on the Saturday then, Joseph and Alfred, that you want to kind of disappear to? It would not affect Alfred's ability to learn enough about basic crypto to do some additional stuff.
Newspapers sound probably most likely.
Okay. Are you thinking? So, what newspaper are you thinking? Something like the Times, which would be a little bit more.
No, I'm thinking something a bit more racy, like the one that follows the
Celebrities.
Exactly.
So something like a tabloid-based paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be a scandal if the money didn't go to the family. Then that might be a scandal type thing that would hit in the tabloids more than the Times.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be big enough for the Times personally, but you never know.
Nah.
Okay.
How much he was worth, I guess.
We may also be able to see a fall off in coverage in the tabloids as to, he may have been very active in going out, and then as soon as he got involved with this cult, that it was less, or the people he went out with changed. All of a sudden, he
Yeah.
was with a different group who were always hanging around together, and we
So-
may be able to tie that back then to the cult or something.
And it also gives some faces to look for as well.
Mm-hmm. And marry them up to the pictures that
Yeah.
we've got.
Yeah.
All right. So, have either of you, to Joseph and or Alfred, got library use?
Yes, I've got 1 point in it.
A spend is not required. You just need to have library use. Okay. A fruitful couple of hours at one of the more seedy tabloids in Los Angeles. A little bit of money passing hands to get you access to their kind of archives down in the basement. You manage to find roughly. I mean, you know the date of the supposed incident, August 14th. Was it August 14th?
As I flick through my pages.
Yes, it was August 14th. On August the 15th, so you start to scan from sort of the 15th onwards, and sure enough, literally on the 15th of August, that is what turns up.
Gosh.
Interesting, we got another name there at least.
I mean, yeah.
Olivia.
It's not telling you anything about. I mean, and scanning through various articles, very quickly, he's mentioned, and then he's not mentioned. In fact, they don't ever answer the question, who was Richard Spend anyway?
Hmm.
Interesting. So who was Olivia Clarendon as well?
Olivia Clarendon.
Mm.
For those of you with library knowledge, would recognise the name as another B-list movie star. Female, obviously.
Okay, she's still alive?
And actually, Richard Spend, although he was a B-level kind of actor, he was actually well admired. So it is possible that there would be an obituary in something like the Times or one of the less salubrious magazines. And what was that question? Is Olivia Spend
Oh yeah, she's still alive.
still alive? She is still alive. And you would know that she is still making movies today.
Right.
So, looking at a picture, is she in any of the pictures we've got?
And that's an interesting question, isn't it? Most of the people are wearing masks of one form or another. There's just a few that don't appear to be. So it's hard to tell if she is visible or not.
Would we be able to find out what film she's working on at this very moment?
Yeah. Wouldn't be difficult. You could probably ask the very same person that gave you access to the basement in the tabloids if he's got any information about
Olivia Clarendon.
yeah.
Why don't you ask her? She's at that table over there.
Yeah. She's
That
the
would
room
be
next to
convenient.
us.
She is. I'm just going to double check something in case there is a. Yeah, that's fine. She is apparently currently filming over in Hollywood The Ninth Guest.
Right, I do think that might be a trip tomorrow in that case.
And I do apologise if anybody is vaguely related to that film. We are stealing one of the female leads and swapping the name. You never know, in 10 years' time, Eddie, every man and his dog might be listening to us.
I know, that'll be at the beginning. Oh, I remember that film, that wasn't right.
Actually. So yes, it would appear that their filming is coming to a close, or it's November. Technically, that film would have already been out, but it doesn't matter. For the
Theatre of the Mind.
Theatre of the Mind, that is the film that she's currently working on.
Yeah, I do think we should go to see if they're still filming tomorrow, if we have time. Well, we will have time. It's an empty day so far, isn't it, tomorrow?
Would they still be filming weekends and things? And
I would have thought so, with budgets.
Probably, yeah.
yeah, sounds
Give
like
you something
perfect.
to do. Give you something to do on the Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, just for completion then. So after leaving the tabloids, you head over to sort of late. It's getting quite late in the mid-afternoon. You head over to the Times, Los Angeles Times, on the hope that you could gain access. Once again, with a little bit of money, you are able to convince a janitor who's effectively cleaning up to give you an hour's unrestricted access to the archives of the Times. And in there, you find a reference. It's on its way to you. 1 second. A less salubrious and gossipy kind of obituary.
Natural causes, lack
Yeah.
of breath.
Yeah. In his sleep, he passed out from what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yolanda Spenzel.
I have to keep ticking things when you've got various little clues, so I can remember where you haven't been.
Okay.
Okay, there's a link
So
to Olivia there as well.
Livy, yeah.
Yeah.
By the time you've found that information, you have got yourself back to the hotel. It's about then that Ralph has kind of excitedly explained his deductive processes and his cryptography skills to Alfred, and you're able to go through the content of the accounts books for the next couple of hours. By this point, it's getting sort of towards 7:30 at night, and good old Joseph has a dinner date.
I do indeed. I'm just gonna while they're going through the books, I will be getting myself ready.
We'll
No
be
problem.
ordering lots of really tasty room service, obviously.
Yeah.
No problem. Well, did we establish Marv's wife's name?
Yes. Oh no. Marv plus Y plus Helen.
Yes. So his wife is called Shirley. Marv and Shirley arrive about 5 to 8. And are you going to be early to the table to greet them, or are you going to be fashionably on time?
No, I'm actually going to be about 2 minutes early.
Okay.
Purely because he's done us a good turn, and I do like to pay my debts.
Okay. Well, you get yourself over to the table a little bit before 8 o'clock, in the anticipation that Marv and Shirley will be on time, and they are indeed on time. His wife definitely, if you could say somebody's punching above his weight, Marv is definitely punching above his weight. His wife is rather well turned down, possibly 5 or 6 years younger than he is. She's wearing a very elegant sort of evening gown. A little bit of a stole around her arms, you know how they do, around their arm and then around their back and stuff, kind of like fox head at one end and stuff. And he shows her in, and he's all beams and smiles, and she's incredibly happy, and she's glancing around, and subdued lighting and the candles on the table, the silverware, a nice round table set for 4. And just about 8 o'clock, you see the lovely Ms. Page turn up. Helen Page, her name. She's a secretary called Page. She looks a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit out of place, should we say. Unsure what to do, and as she kind of walks in, and you watch her speak to the concierge, like the head waiter, who offers his arm and guides her over to the table. Well, obviously, as gentlemen, you all stand up.
Right, I was going to say, I will rise up and I will kiss Shirley on the hand and Helen as well.
And she, again, Helen has obviously come out. She doesn't have as expensive a dress, perhaps, as Shirley, but she's certainly, the long black gloves up to kind of the here, low sleeve, slightly low cut, certainly a little bit more risque for the attire for the years, the current time period. And she's all beams and happy and pleased to see each of you. And dinner goes very well. A nice 5-course meal, different wines between each, to support each of the courses. And you enjoy a good evening. Turns out, Marv, although he looks a bit stuffy, once he kind of relaxes, he's an all right kind of fella. Likes his jazz, and likes his football. And Helen is all. She's definitely making it clear that she is interested.
Yep, that's wonderful. I will play to that with no intention of taking it any further after the meal.
Okay.
But yes, I will definitely play to that.
And of course, Shirley is ecstatic when she sees Mr. Crabbe come in with a lady and a couple of other people, and they sit kind of 2 tables over from you, not quite in your definite sort of, almost in your, so the tables would be arranged such that he is in your eye line, because between the two tables, then his table. And then later on in the evening, as I say, Greta Garbo turns up with a gentleman and a couple of other people, Claudette Colburn, Esther Ralston, and Laurel and Hardy.
What I'd like to do for Shirley and for Marv is, I'm sure there's going to be a photographer hanging around somewhere.
So the hotel permits the photographers to stay outside, does not permit photographers inside.
Right. That's fine then. I was going to try and get a quick snap of Shirley and Marv and hopefully capture somebody famous in the background.
Okay. You could get... Well, you know, your good friend Alfred has a camera.
I could be watching with binoculars and just taking some photos.
No, don't worry. I was going to try and give them a little keepsake, but no, that's fine.
Okay. Most people leave the stars alone. One or two people do go over and you know, with napkins and things and a piece of paper and sheepishly ask for autographs. Laurel and Hardy definitely sign autographs. A couple of the ladies less so, but Buster Crabbe is also up for autograph signing.
Oh, in which case we'll do that then. We shall get some autographs for them.
Give me a... Well, okay, so you have flattery, don't you? You're very good.
Do you want to spend a point?
Yeah, give me a 1 point flattery spend. Please. Actually, you go one step further. As the evening is coming to a close, you know, as many people are starting to leave, the four of you kind of gravitate from the restaurant into the jazz lounge, and you're enjoying kind of an informal, quite quiet jazz band playing. You're having the evening aperitifs, and Buster Crabbe and Greta Garbo both come into the lounge, and they sit. Actually, they end up sitting together. Their kind of parties kind of fragment a little bit, and they end up sitting together. And gradually, there's not that many of you left. Marv and Shirley and poor Helen are clearly hanging on for dear life, trying to. See it out. They don't want to be the last to go before the stars go, basically. And with a little bit of your smooth talking and your way about you, and obviously because you are a well-off gentleman anyway, you end up almost getting tables pulled together. Not quite, but actually, and you spend about half an hour in the actual company of Greta Garbo and Buster Crabbe, and Shirley is delighted. She is ecstatic. And gradually, they choose to leave, and at this point, Helen kind of is nodding a little bit at the thing. She's a very tired girl, not used to staying up this late. And Marv and Shirley kind of decide to take their leave. And as Marv's shaking your hand, he kind of comes in and he says, "The best night my wife has had in a long time."
Well, make sure you treat her well when you get home.
"I intend to," he says, with a slight smile at you and a little twinkle in his eye. And he says, Are you going to likewise treat Miss Page well tonight?"
Much as I would love to, I have other pressing matters that I need to do. And Marv, I'd like to say a big warm thank you for your help you gave us.
Oh, no, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. As this has been an absolute pleasure as well. And he goes to take out his wallet.
Oh, I'll raise my hand up. No, Marv, it's fine. Thank you very much for your help.
And it's almost like he was kind of expecting that anyway. So, you read that he was expecting it. It was kind of a gesture for his wife to see. And Shirley comes up.
We're going Dutch.
Yeah. And Shelley comes up and she puts her arms around you and gives you a kiss on each cheek. And thank you, Mr. Westmore. Absolutely amazing night. I couldn't have asked for better.
Please, Shirley, call me Joseph, and it was a pleasure meeting you. And
Yes.
maybe next time I'm in the city, we can do it again.
Oh, I'd love to. Please keep in touch, Mr. Westmore. Joseph, sorry.
Pleasure, Shirley. You take care. Should I arrange a cab for Miss Page here, or are you taking her home? Or...
She's Marv kind of. Shirley goes, no. We'll take her home. She looks a little bit worse for wear.
She's bless. At least she had a good night, which is a more important thing.
And she kind of gets up and she kisses. She goes to kiss you on the cheek and she misses. At this point, you realise that the 4 bottles of wine in between each course might have been a little bit more than she was used to drinking, and she's a little bit inebriated. But she the body language says she's disappointed, but she accepts and takes Shirley by the arm and lets her kind of lead her out. And you watch as they leave. And you look at your bank balance and you realise it's a little bit lighter.
Indeed, yes. But to be fair, it's a worthy cause.
Probably about $100 spent, which in them days would be a lot of money.
Yes, yeah. But to be in those circles, well worth it.
Yeah.
And with that, I'll probably spend another 30 minutes down there, having a drink and a chat, and then I'll go back up to our penthouse.
Okay.
It's a bungalow, isn't it, William?
Yeah, you're in bungalows.
Oh, that's it, bungalows. Yes, we hired a whole... Yeah.
Penthouse was the last hotel.
That's right, sorry.
All right. You go to sleep. You wake up Sunday morning. A good sort of 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning. Do you have any plans for Sunday?
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of cameras now, haven't we? With the
You
one
have.
from the box as well. So
Yeah, you have.
might as well pick them both.
You're not too far. If I remember rightly, you purposefully chose a hotel that was just on the outskirts of Hollywood. So you're not too far away. It was a Beverly Hills hotel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So your journey into Hollywood after you have a nice quiet, breakfast, you probably leave about 10:30ish, and you get yourself over to Hollywood, and you start canvassing around. Again, you hire your driver. What I have name here is Larry Magwood, according to this. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Again, you arrange for Larry to drive you for the day. The usual kind of $5 in his top pocket to kind of keep him happy and at your beck and call for the day. And he cruises around a number of the studio lots. Does any of you have oral history?
No. Pretty darn
Well,
sure.
there's this one girl.
Oral history, yes.
Okay. Actually, it's Ralph that's able to spend a little bit of time chatting a few of the guards up, and very quickly narrows down to one of the lots on the south part of Hollywood, actually the southwest of Hollywood. And you get yourself over there just around lunchtime, and it's quite busy. There's a few people milling around, obviously taking lunch break. As you arrive at the lot, the car is stopped by one of the security guards, and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is an active shooting today, so unfortunately guests are not allowed in.
I'll walk over, hand extended. Hello, my good man.
He'll take your hand, as everybody does when you offer a hand.
Yes, I'm fully aware. I just wanted just to see the magic in action without being seen.
Magic in action without being seen, sir. It's not something we are particularly open to doing.
Oh, I was hoping to see Olivia Clarendon.
So does everybody. Well, I can confirm she's here today. Do you wish to arrange for an appointment?
And that would be, I mean, if she's got a spare moment today, and you know you're doing such a wonderful job here, I wouldn't want to get you in trouble. But can you just tell a friend of a friend is here to see her?
It's a little bit obscure, sir.
Oh, sorry, Joseph Westmore.
Mr. Westmore, that's a little bit obscure. Do you have a name of this friend of a friend?
Yes, it's somebody she knew years ago, Richard Spend.
Okay. Was he in the business?
He was indeed. They
Okay.
were in a film together, if memory serves me.
He says, well, wait here, sir. And he kind of goes off. And sort of 5 minutes later, he comes wandering back. Okay, does anybody want to spend a point of oral history?
Yeah, I'll spend that.
Okay. He kind of listens to you know. He's kind of taken in what you've said. He says, unfortunately, Miss Clarendon is a little busy for the next 3 hours, but she has said she would be willing to give you 5 minutes of her time at the end of shooting today. Although she is in a rush down to get ready for a premiere of one of her movies this evening. So she can give you 5 minutes as she's getting to her car.
Oh, that's most reasonable of her. Thank you very much. And
You did mention you wanted to see the action taking place.
Indeed.
He kind of looks at you a little bit expectantly.
I will pass some coinage over.
Okay.
Not too much, but you know.
He smiles. He says, "Follow me, gentlemen, but please keep out of sight and keep quiet."
We will.
And he takes you into the studio where they're shooting, and he kind of puts you behind sort of a curtain or stack of boxes or something along those lines, so that you can see and you can watch, but you're in the dark and you're well away from any of the action. So the chances of you kind of disturbing anything is pretty slim. And he just says, the shooting will be done in a couple of hours, and Miss Clarendon will then retire to her private caravan thing, and then she'll be leaving about 4 o'clock this afternoon for her appointment at the Cafe Pacific. She'll expect you then.
Thank you very much. Can we see? I'd like to stay here until some actors come on, and I want to see if we can see her.
Yeah, you can see her. Yeah. Do I have a photograph of her that I can share with you as you see her? Look at that.
That's not a 4 head, that's a 5 head.
Yes. Miss Clarendon. I'm sure it's some other famous person. But yes, so you have this dark-haired lady, very, very, you imagine, without being rude, she certainly looks younger than 40. given she was hanging around with Spend in 1924,
Yeah.
you imagine she's in her 30s. Probably actually closer to 40. She doesn't quite look it.
It's all that slap on her face. Yeah, so if it's okay with everybody else, are we going to just stay here, watch, and then go meet her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep an eye. Well, I'm going to look out to see if anyone approaches her that doesn't look like it's anything to do with the film. So if she's got links to the cult, someone might actually come over and pass her something or speak to her that doesn't look film related, then I'll make particular note of them.
Or perhaps you might have sent a message to somebody to come and see her as well because of the name drop. If we do get to talk to her, what questions should we be thinking about asking?
If she knew him, see, Ikvaria's name is a bit too obvious to drop, but how about Jobs? Or
Yes.
who's the other guy that?
That was Edgar, wasn't it? Edgar Jobs.
Yeah.
The other guy was George. We can ask about George Ayres.
Yeah, I suppose. You might know him. It's whether she'll know them by their names, but
or maybe, hey, Golgoroth, the fisherman from the outside dating centres.
Isn't it a bit odd that the fat patient Agatha Sands was saying she was a lovely Olivia Clarendon?
You finally remembered. You finally remembered.
Yeah,
I knew
the name was there somewhere, but I was like, where have I heard that name?
And because she is, from what you can get, she is actually quite a well-loved, fairly famous now actress.
Yeah,
I mean, and it might, for all you know, it could have been the last movie she saw that was shown in the common room of the asylum. You don't know.
Could be that, or it could be that Job was talking to Sands.
Could be, yeah. But well remembered. You see, everything. Lots of little clues.
It was on my page. I just hadn't got that far down to put two and two together yet. So, is this really Olivia Clarendon, or is the other one and they've swapped? Yeah, she could be a cultist that's been infiltrated to try and get some of these celebs in. I've got to be paranoid, haven't I? Yeah, I won't take any photographs unless there's somebody approaches that looks out of place.
Okay.
Try and minimize.
You are in a Actually, there are a couple of people, probably janitors or cleaners, that come and join you. Certainly towards the last hour or so that you spend observing the lights, camera, action kind of stuff, and it's interesting to see how the acting takes place, but it also spoils the magic a little bit when you realise that there's clearly some trickery going on with the cinematography to make it look, bits of smoke coming up, and you can kind of see it from a different angle, and it doesn't look anything like how it would look in a movie. Got to remember, in the 1930s, they didn't have special effects like they do today.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they had special effects in them days. To be honest, what they look like. They probably had some, right? But nothing.
It's all smoke
Nothing
and
like
mirrors,
that.
Future statics and things, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But sure enough, a couple of hours later, so as you get to about, I would say, sort of 3:15, that's a wrap, everybody, till tomorrow. And you watch as everybody starts to disperse, and Olivia kind of walks out talking to a couple of the, what you get are the, I forget what they're called now, the background actors, support actors, extras, thank you. A couple of the extras, and they're kind of talking, and you kind of step out of a side door that you watch, and you watch as she goes over to a trailer and goes inside.
I'll approach, or we'll approach, and gently tap on the door.
After a few moments, you hear this, just a moment, and then a bit of moving around inside, and then the door opens, and she's got out of the costume that she was wearing, and she's just in a normal sort of everyday, still very well put together dress. You're the gentleman that Gary told me about.
Oh, yes, hello, Miss Clarendon. My name is Joseph Westmore, and I'll hold my hand out.
She offers her hand, Mr. Westmore.
Stepping away for a minute.
And your friends are?
This is Alfred and Ralph. They're my associates.
Okay. At that point, shall we take a quick break while everybody's getting kisses on the forehead and food delivered and off to the bathroom and things? So let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back and have the interview with Miss Clarendon.
Okay.
The vampire.
The vampire. Slayer.
That's with his mouth full, I don't think.
We are now. We can go live now.
Okay. Is that a sausage sandwich?
No, it's a Haslett. I found some Haslett in the fridge. I'm like, oh, mine.
Not a big fan of that.
Okay. All right. So, as Olivia Clarendon, as you sort of kiss her hand, she steps back and she says, "Well, gentlemen, I have some time. I'll due at the car in 10 minutes. Please come in."
Why, thank you. And we'll step inside.
So I understand you are friends of Mr. Spend.
Loosely.
To say it's a name that I haven't heard mentioned recently, and also a name that I had forgotten.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was...
Sorry.
Yeah, I was young, inexperienced, might even say a little bit desperate to make my name. Starstruck, I think, is the term that you would use. When I first met him, I met him at a couple of functions, a couple of parties, as you do.
These parties were quite wild, from what I'm led to understand.
Well, some of the parties that I attended were, the usual kind, and some were on the more salubrious side, and certainly some of the parties that dear old Richard attended disturbed me to the core.
Ah.
Let me know, by the way, if you're spending points in anything or you are invoking any of your skills.
I will
As this
indeed.
goes along.
And I will spend a point in reassurance.
Okay.
As I say, my next thing I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm going to start assessing honesty. I'm going to kind of stand in the back rather than actually say anything and just watch her.
Okay. All right. So you're going to spend a point of reassurance. Okay. I will bear that in mind, and I will use that for your and assess honesty. Okay, for your conversation. No worries.
We've recently been in touch with Edgar Jobs.
She looks at you a little bit quizzically. Edgar Jobs. Not a name that particularly jumps out at me.
Oh, right. He
Was he a friend of Richard's?
He was indeed, yes.
Oh.
Do
you have a photo?
I'm very sorry. No, I don't. I don't think... No, we don't. We never had a photo, did we?
Yeah, the photos we've got were a bit disturbing, so probably not.
Okay. All right, so you haven't got the photos with you. That's okay.
Yeah. We tried to find a friend of Richard's. We thought you might know where he was.
Yeah. Who would that be?
Does the name Echevarria mean anything to you?
Assess honesty. So at that, she kind of almost involuntarily takes a step back, and a slight gasp comes out of her as you mention that name. Very quickly, though, she tries to compose herself.
Says no, I haven't heard of it.
It's funny. Echevarria was somebody that firstly, again, a name I'd not heard mentioned for many years. A man whom I'd thought in my past. I met him when I was climbing the ladder. I I think he was introduced to me by a professor at UCLA. He was a professor of ancient religions. I was researching for a film role that I was hoping to get at the time, but unfortunately it didn't quite materialize. Anyway, you mentioned Echevarria. Yes, I thought he could help me with my career. He seemed to be a man who moved in interesting circles, a rich man. Turned out that he was a bad man, very bad man, a depraved pervert. I even wondered if he was a Satan worshipper. But I quickly, after attending a couple of his parties, after being disturbed and shocked to my core, I quickly put some distance between myself and him, and chose not to attend. And indeed, I after my work in 1924 on the Black Cat with Mr. Spend, I chose again to distance myself from him, despite his attempt to publicly call out my thanks and invite me to a number of the parties post that. I'll never forget the party that I saw.
It wasn't a Professor Ayres, was it?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Professor Ayres, Professor of Ancient Religion. He used to tell me about Echevarria and how he was part of his inner circle. We had this young chap that was with him on campus, a maths student. Used to talk my ear off about maths, and it was the last thing I wanted at those parties. But, I saw him at one of the parties. A bit of an obsessive kind of little fellow, really. Can't remember his name. Sure, the professor introduced me, but that was obviously not a very important name.
Just out of interest, I do have a picture in my notebook of Job.
Okay.
Because I took a
drawing
of all the. So, if it's a good likeness, I do have art history and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So if you've got, if you've got,
I will show her.
Okay. As she looks at the picture, she goes, yes, yeah, that's interesting that you should have a picture. It looks very much like, obviously a slightly older version, but it does look like the young man that sat on as coattails. Does he have a name, this man?
And that's Edgar Job, who we referenced earlier.
Interesting. Yes, I remember seeing him at one of the parties. I think it was the last party that I ever went to. I'll never forget what I saw. Echevarria, naked, having sex with a tangle of men and women on a couch that, for a moment, I thought it had a mouth and a long tongue that was participating in the sex act at the same time. But it can't have been true, of course, but even 10 years later, I still can't get that picture out of my head. I use it when I need to scream in a picture.
I can imagine. Were you succumbing to any narcotics of any kind? Did they offer anything to you?
Yeah, we believe they were trying to. A lot of these parties, they try to pass a particular type of drug around.
I didn't participate in such things, so I really don't know.
I don't suppose, and this is a long shot here, but I don't suppose you knew where Echevarria lived or where George Avery lived at all. You never were privy to their calling cards.
Javaria, I never. Well, actually, of course she did, because she was at a party. I can't remember where. Quite often, I would attend the party with Richard or George on one occasion, but a couple of occasions with Richard. I seem to recall his address was in Highland Park.
What was that? Sorry, Howard.
Highland Park.
Highland Park.
Yes.
I don't suppose you've heard anything from Richard's sister, have you?
I haven't spoken to Miss Spenzel for what feels like ever. Possibly at Richard's funeral was the last time I spoke to her. I don't quite know what to believe. If you believe the tabloids, he died in strange circumstances, though Miss Spenzel tells me he was simply found dead in his bed. Which, given the things that he partook of, doesn't surprise me.
Did you think he was taking narcotics?
Oh, I certainly believe he would have been taking something. Certainly to participate in those parties. He was so desperate, and one can understand why, of course, to get me to.
And this George Ayres, you never went to his house at all?
I didn't, unfortunately, no.
No. Do you know if he's still practicing as a professor at the campus?
I've not had need to speak to him since the 20s. I presume so. I really don't know.
Anybody else have anything to wish to ask?
At this point, she's starting to get her coat and things.
Yeah,
and
it's getting on for 10 minutes now, isn't it? So
yeah. Well, gentlemen, I hope.
One thing, when does the name Buchwald mean anything to you? Did you ever meet anybody called Buchwald at the party? Parties.
Hold on a second. I don't remember many of the names. Not a name that jumps out at me, I'm afraid. Again, if you had a photo of the gentleman, I could perhaps tell you.
But unfortunately, I've not got a picture of that chap.
Seems like you're researching some kind of movie plot. Film plot. I shouldn't say movie, which is film plot.
It could well turn into one.
And if it does, there may be a part for you.
She smiles. I've done my part. I certainly would not wish to go back to those events in 1924.
And hearing that, I will hold my hand out and I will grasp hers if she gives it to me with both my hands, and I'll say, I'm very sorry for making you relive those times again. I didn't realise if it would be so distressing to you.
I was young. I was a little desperate, wanting to make a name for myself. Fortunately, I managed to make my name without the help of the likes of Echevarria, Spend, and Ayres, for which I'm eternally grateful.
It sounds like a very wise head on those shoulders.
Indeed. Well, gentlemen, perhaps you could escort me to my car?
Certainly.
Pleasure.
So as you walk out, there's a load of photographers, and they start snapping you as George, Joseph, you're arm in arm with Olivia. And in the tabloids that night, it'll read, "You love her for Olivia?" Question mark. Who is this mysterious man? Question mark.
Helen doesn't see this.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So you return back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering whether Jobs will know this Buckfold if he was a math student. Could it be him under another name, or maybe his professor or something? Coincidence that it's math students and we're looking for an accountant as well.
I think is if he was on faculty in 1924, it'd be easy enough to find out.
Yeah.
But then remember, he was just a student back then, whereas these the books were written at the same time, weren't they? So
yeah.
So would he be qualified to do that?
Yeah, it could be his teacher.
Yeah.
I don't think Jobs is the thing. Yeah.
Nah. But I think there's a link there, though. It's just seems a bit too coincidental to be math students, and we're looking for someone that's part of the cult as an accountant.
I think the cult will have covered all bases. To be honest with you, it'll have tried to go for all forms of power and influence. So makes sense.
One thing that she talked about, which I do find highly suspect, is the fact that this chair that she seems to say had a tongue coming out of it. She must have been on something, even though she doesn't want to admit it.
Like the hope, sir. But with them referencing
a mouth
with the mouth of
mm-hmm.
the creature with 1,000 mouths or something along those lines, then maybe it was stylized in that form or something as part of the act.
Yes. If there's film stars going to these parties, maybe there's some of these newfangled special effects technician people.
Ideas just left my head.
How far away is Highland Park? I mean, this, depending what time it is, it's probably...
Let's have a look, see if it actually is a place that exists. Yes, it is a place that exists.
Yeah, it's near Mount Washington. It's East Hollywood, that kind of way.
Yeah, sort of south of Glendale, right?
Yeah.
Southeast of Glendale, southwest of Pasadena. Randomly, I might be going to Los Angeles at the end of the month.
Oh, might you?
Yeah,
nice.
Randomly.
Avoid any parties. Just in case.
I'm going to see if I can stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I think that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Take a photo. Don't sit on any of those Sean's Lanes thingies.
Yeah. So from where you are, it's so where would it be on here? It's this kind of area, I believe. Glendale. So it's this kind of area. Oh, you can't ping it. I haven't got pings active, have I? Oh no! Wait a minute. No, I haven't got pings active. It's about where you're all hovering over your thing now. So I can see Medi, Joseph, I can see Alfred all in that kind of area. That's roughly speaking where it is.
Yeah, it's just South Occidental College, isn't it? So
yeah.
If it's on the way back to the hotel, isn't it? So maybe we could swing by that area.
Okay.
And just have a drive around to see. I mean, it's not like they got big nameplates on the side of the houses, but Or maybe on the mailboxes, you never know. Yeah, just see if there's anything that stands out. Also, just familiarise ourselves.
It's okay in America, they've got the street names on every corner, haven't they, sir? Probably will be something.
It is a mixture of farmland and a housing estate.
Ooh.
Oh, there's lots of privacy.
Did we actually get the address of the farm?
I was going to
No,
say.
you didn't. The Highland Park is quite a large area. It's a mixture of farmland and a construction of a new sort of
Who was
housing estate.
Who was that journalist that wrote that piece saying he was found on a farm where there was a party?
In
If
the
we
tabloid.
can get in contact with that journalist, he may still know where the farm was.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to do that. You would theoretically be able to find by just going to the county records.
Yeah, I don't think it mentioned where the farm was, though, did it?
No, it didn't.
No.
But the journalist may know.
Yeah.
So, I suppose it depends what's on the certificate of death for the guy, because it could be that they took his dead body home, and that was where he was pronounced. But I don't know, because you got two versions there.
That photo that was on that picture wasn't of the area, was it? That was a stock acting picture.
Correct.
Yeah, we need to get in contact with that journalist, definitely. Because he had a lot more information than what the Times had. Which means he's been there.
Most likely. Maybe he was following another case or something to do with it, another story, and stumbled across it. So you might know more overall than that.
Or maybe been a tabloid person. Maybe he was been a paparazzi and following for a picture of something.
Yeah.
A long shot.
So your options to try and find that are twofold. One, you could go try and track down the journalist. Sure. Alternatively, you could go to somewhere like the county recorder's office to see if there's any records of an Echevarria owning property in Los Angeles.
And that would be on a Monday, though, wouldn't it? Not today.
That would be on a Monday. Yeah.
Whereas the reporter, we could probably.
See, by now it's about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Monday anyway.
Yeah. So we will.
Records might be good because if he's got multiple properties under his name, then we'll have more places to check out. But won't necessarily narrow down this. But if he has got multiple properties, then we search out the reporter.
Assuming they're in his name.
Yeah.
And we don't know his surname, do we? Just Echevarria.
Oh, we search for Echevarria and Buchwald, just in case.
In fairness, Olivia would have told you his full name. It was Raymond Echevarria.
Raymond?
Raymond. Ramon. R-A-M-O-N.
Oh, right, okay. One thing I did find interesting that she mentioned was that Echevarria was in the Professor Ayre's inner circle, as if he's the one in charge, and Echevarria is one of his disciples or
Wasn't that about Job though? Didn't she? Once she talked about
No.
Job and heirs, then not.
She was,
No, it's all
No,
about
Ayres
Echevarria.
actually said, she said of Ayres that he used to brag about being part of Echevaria's inner circle.
Ah, so Ayres was in. Right, okay. I misheard that.
And Job, by inference, well, actually, no, she saw the picture, was one of.
On his coattails. And,
yeah,
yeah.
Was on his coattails.
right. In which case, back to the Beverly Hills.
Yep. You head back to the Beverly Hills. You arrive about 6 o'clock. Dinner, as usual.
Yeah.
Okay. You enjoy a usual good dinner. Drinks. Make some plans for the following day.
Indeed, and get an early night ready to start at 9. Well, to be out of the hotel at 9 and start working then.
Yeah.
Okay. In which case, I will take us through to 9 a.m. the following morning. Random messages from work at this time of night. It's never a good thing, but I can ignore them till tomorrow. Okay, so following day, you have breakfast. You meet outside once again with your lovely driver. Mr. Westmore and associates, where to today, sir? Do you have anywhere in mind, or are we just taking in the sight today, sir?
No, we'd like to go to the registry office. Not the registry office. The
records.
Records. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And just take your time, Larry. That'll be wonderful.
No problem. It takes you down into the centre of town. It takes about an hour to drive through from where you are down into town. And he parks outside the, familiar-looking office, governmental office block. You get yourself inside. What are you doing?
Is this public records that anyone can actually request?
You're at the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office. So people can just request some time in there and any specific information they might need.
Okay. I'll approach the desk and say, I'm looking for any property belonging to a certain individual. How would I go about finding it?
No, property records are room 23. You will find information there.
Thank you. Is that heading towards room 23?
Yeah.
You have library use, don't you?
Yeah. Do you want a 2-point spend on that or something?
Don't need to spend.
We're
If you want to spend something, let me know. But at the moment, it doesn't necessarily call for anything to be spent right this second.
So start looking for Roman Echevarria and Buckwald. See if I can find anything under either of them.
Okay.
If you want to take Echevarria, I'll take Buckwald.
Yeah.
And maybe, if you have time, maybe look for Mr. George Ayres as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Both of you have library use?
Yep.
Or bureaucracy or architecture? Any of those three?
I've got architecture as well. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've only got libraries.
Sorry, and I'll slide another little note to them and maybe look for Yolanda Spenzel.
Okay.
Oh, it should have the details of the estate here as well. somewhere
Yeah.
in another room somewhere. And who dealt with it?
Yolanda Spenzel resides in a mid-Wilshire house. You can get the address, no problem.
Okay.
Buchwald. Looking in the accounts section, Buchwald has an office in downtown LA, I believe. Certainly, you can get Buchwald's address, no problem. Raymond Echeverria, as far as you can tell, is linked. There are a number of Echeverrias. There are 2 Raymond Echeverrias listed, one of which mentions 2 plots of land, some farmland on the north, to the north of the city, and an address in Highland Park. The other Raymond Echeverria is linked more to the south of Los Angeles, does not mention anything to do with a farm nor Highland Park.
Okay.
So you conclude that the former is the one you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, the farmland is probably the place we want to go first when
Yeah.
we're going visiting.
But Highland Park's around there anyway, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
We can always just drive by the house, see if it's been occupied. Because isn't he supposed to be deceased now?
Yes.
Echeverria.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He got blown away by a shotgun, if you remember,
that's
by
Yeah.
one of Henslow's group, right at the beginning.
Yeah, by the tank that was stabbed by Job.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yolanda's property, will it actually indicate whether it's always been hers or whether she inherited it from
Richard.
her brother?
Doesn't look like she inherited it. It looks like she's been in there for about 7 years.
Right, okay.
Which is bang on 1924.
Well, no, you're in 34 now.
Oh, gosh, yeah, sorry.
So 3 years ago. 1927 she got it. Interesting thing, though, that you find about these 2 properties. The tax records suggest that taxes on both properties were paid in full, on time, by the same accountant from 1918 until 1924.
Buchwald, by any chance?
Buchwald.
Okay.
Are they still being paid to this day or not?
No.
Is
There's
Buchwald still paying any taxes or anything?
Okay, so
Which
we've
I think
got a property owned by Echeverrian, and that's
2.
Yeah, we've got 2 properties owned by Echeverrian. Are they still in his name, or can we do reverse search on the the actual property to see whether it transferred to somebody else after?
The farmland is a little bit harder to do. I would definitely need a spend for that.
Yeah, I'll spend library use point if you want a point.
Yeah, go for it. So the house appears to be occupied by a Mr. Roy Crawford, and his wife, Marlene. and their 2 children. Their house is in the name of Crawford. The farmland appears to have been signed over and bought by a local construction company.
Who's the construction company owned by?
You can ask me that. Have a look to see if I can actually find a name for you.
And it was signed over, not sold.
Sold
bought.
to, sorry. It was bought by. I don't know. I really don't know. So, whatever name you want to come up with.
Buchanan's Construction. There you go.
What was that?
Buchanan's Construction.
Buchanan Construction.
Buchwald's Construction.
No. They appear to have purchased the land in 1925.
You just read my mind. That was going to be the question I asked.
I suppose that's when the taxes weren't filed. It was probably put out to auction or something.
Yeah. I wonder if they knew the history of the land when they bought it.
Depends on how cheap they got it.
Yeah. Lots of haunted houses being built on the place.
I do love that this lovely husband, wife, and 2 kids. You know, the perfect family have moved into Amityville.
That's the next thing then. Has there any planning documents been put forward for that land by Buchanan's?
Yes.
And if so, have they been developed?
There is ongoing. So it's not just the land. It's kind of the land that the farm was part of. The whole area has been sold.
Yeah.
And gradually it would appear that the Buchanans have been building from the southern part of this land northwards. And they should, according to this, have started building on the farmland in the last 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
Looking at Roy Crawford and his wife, looking at where they've come from, were they always local? I'm just wondering whether they could have been part of the cult that's carried it on.
You're going down that rabbit warren, are you?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll need a
Not too far.
library. I'll need a library spend for you, please.
Okay.
He appears to be a real estate developer. Bought the house in 25 at an auction. Paid about what you would expect to pay for it.
Right, okay.
Previously, he had an address in Glendale.
Yeah. So nothing obvious linking him to
Nothing.
at all.
No clue whatsoever.
Okay.
I do wonder what happened to Echevaria's furniture and belongings. I don't suppose
You just want that mouth couch,
I
don't
want
you?
the mouth couch. No house is complete without the mouth couch.
Dare I say so? He could have a rimming every time he sat down.
Suit you, sir.
And yes, there was occasional smut in this. By all accounts, you've no idea. I mean, there's nothing listed here to suggest anything that would happen.
I wonder if it hit the tabloids at some point to see if there's any sort of listing for an auction. A clearance sale type thing.
Could be sold as part of the property.
You're going to do that today?
My goal after we finish here is maybe try to get hold of this this reporter first, and maybe he might know. So 2 birds with 1 stone there. But I do also think we need to speak to the sister, because why would she say one thing and then...
Well, they may have put the body in the bed, so she may have found, or they may have found it that way. Yeah, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Well,
I don't know why, but
bear in mind. Oh, okay. So you want to know why Spend was listed as in one place dying violently, and the other place asleep in bed. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's something you could do. So you could cut down or cut across and to Wiltshire. Go over to her house and take a look.
Yeah, or the reporter might actually know that as well.
Yeah, I think speak to the reporter first, get his side of the version of events, which seems to corroborate what we've been told previously by everyone else we've spoken to. So I'm just flicking through notes. Yeah, so it was Douglas Henslow, wasn't it, that told us that what happened at the farm?
Yeah.
And the reporter corroborates that with his piece.
Yeah.
But then the sister is saying, no, he died at home in bed.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's 2 against 1. Who are not related, have no, as far as we know, they have no contact between each other. So yeah, reporter first, I think, and then the sister.
Yeah.
I can't find that link you dropped in for the story.
Which story?
You know, it's not in the handouts.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Because...
Oh, thank you. I won't look until you get rid of anything that's not supposed to be in there.
No, that's all you should see.
Oh, cool.
You should just see...
It's a tabloid when I want. There's no name.
There is no name.
In which case, we'll go back to the tabloid office and literally find out who wrote it.
Okay. You head back to the tabloid office. By the time you get there, you're looking at closer to sort of 1 in the afternoon. And you head in and, you know, again, using your flattery, you talk your way in and get a brief 10 minutes with the chief, the editor-in-chief. And he kind of... You're asking about an article written in the 1920s?
Yes, I know it's a long stretch, but I thought you, of all people, would know who worked for you, because I'm assuming, well, I can see you're a man who would look after his staff. It's a very strange piece, but it's about the movie star Richard Spend. It says, movie star buys the farm.
That piece.
Yes.
The family tried to sue us, you know. Claimed that we were spreading lies. Yeah, I know who wrote that. You're looking at him.
Really? That's a wonderful piece. And between you and I, you weren't lying.
I know that. But, you know, the sensitivities of people.
Indeed, nobody likes to be shown in a bad light after they've passed away.
especially not famous people. That's why we do what we do.
Exactly. And it's a damn well
Look at this. It says like this one, and he kind of takes you around his desk. Miss Clarendon with new lover. And he looks at the photo, and he looks at you.
Who is that handsome devil?
Is that you, sir?
Possibly, yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you got my good side as well.
Care to give the paper a quote?
Yes, sadly, it's not as good as what you think. It was purely business, just as this is as well.
Uh-huh. Purely business.
And
Okay.
I had two chaperones with me.
Yeah, no money exchange hands.
Yeah, because in my head I was going to change the headline to that you would see Miss Clarendon walks out with escort. No money exchanged, indeed.
No. Were you actually on site when this was?
No. I had a couple of photos sent to me anonymously by I don't know who. To be fair, never really tried to track it down. Just some notes about what had happened and a couple. Well, not even notes really. Just some photos of the body and other things.
My goodness, do you still have those photos?
I destroyed them. They were too violent even for me to publish.
No, I know you couldn't publish them. I just was hoping you might have had something.
Sadly not.
No. And you don't know who sent them to you?
Sadly not.
Did they give any information, such as where it was taken?
Yeah. Some farm north of the city.
That's as much information as we got.
Yes, exactly. Just on a side note, were there many famous deaths on that particular day, or people who just disappeared?
There was. I seem to remember something about a philanthropist who had passed away, violent death or something from memory, quite some time ago. Met a violent end, I think. I remember vaguely because, like you said, it happened on exactly the same day as Richard, old Ricky boy.
Wasn't called Echeverrian, was it?
I don't recall the details. I just remember that in particular, a philanthropist, and it always struck me as funny. There's a couple of others. A wannabe, not so famous, wouldn't even call her a C-lister, to be honest. Up-and-coming girl, wanting to be an actress. She died. That was quite sad. She was 19 years old. And then...
What was her name, do you recall?
Beverly Woods, maybe?
Wonderful, thank you.
But beyond that, no clue. The fact that the Star's sister, Spenzel, I think her name was, threatened to sue unless we recanted the story and apologised. Just made it even more interesting for us. Usually, when that happens, he says, there's some truth in it.
Oh, yes. Well, you saw the photos.
Hard to tell it was him, though, to be honest.
See, I would have thought a man like yourself would have kept those for insurance in case somebody did sue.
No, I think at the time my editor-in-chief was a little bit more cautious than I am today. I learned a lot from him, but I especially learned how to be a little bit more salubrious, shall we say, in the way we report things today. I'd have probably posted one of those pictures, edited, of course, blackout across the face or something, but I'd have probably posted one of those pictures. Posted, published. It's not the internet.
So,
well, gentlemen, anything else I can...
Yeah, just on a long shot again. There's a house and a farm up near where this happened that seemed to have been bought by a real estate company.
Just a farmland bought by the real estate.
Yeah, sorry, the construction company, and the house was bought by. Well, I ignore the house, but the construction company was bought by. Sorry, the farm that was bought by a construction company. How long has that been going on up there? The actual building of it? Are they just absorbing bits and pieces as they go?
Well, they say that Los Angeles' population is expanding 2 times so far since the mid-20s. They're expecting 3-4 times expansion by the time this decade's over. So they're grabbing land wherever they can, building houses. I guess if that was prime farmland close by to one of the existing parts of Los Angeles suburbs, then they'll just expand out that way.
That's good to know. I'll turn to Alfred and Ralph, and I'll say, any other questions you can think of?
Can't think of anything offhand.
Nope.
Well, thank you for your time, and again, a very good piece, and well done. I'll stand and shake his hand.
No worries. By the way, you've got an address from the tax records and stuff to the farmland and to the house, so you do have an address. Just that this editor-in-chief wasn't necessarily able to corroborate the address with what he knows.
Yeah. I'd like to go and see the farm at some point, because if it's still there, because wasn't there supposed to be
There was a barn or something, wasn't there?
There was a barn.
It's a barn and farmhouse.
Wasn't it destroyed or something big?
Correct.
There?
Yes.
So if something large happened there, there should surely be some aftermath of it, even now.
You could go under the pretense of looking to buy something up here. You could get away with it.
I'd like to buy this land. Is Miss Spenzel's house on the way back up there, or do we have to?
No, I think I would say you'd be cutting back across to go back up, whereas you can kind of go up to the farmland from where you are. The farmland is kind of north of the Beverly Hills Hotel area, sort of further out. Probably north of Glendale, actually, so not far from where Catherall's marker is showing on the map. If you can see it, I don't know if you can see each other's markers. So kind of up there, yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know where mine is because my mouse pointer is off the screen.
Okay.
It's just coincidence that it's up there.
Yeah. So, drive out town, go to the farm, or
Yeah,
something else.
I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Spenzel's. So,
I'd
I
like
think she's
to
just
know.
trying to keep.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know if she's been paid to say that, or whether it is just keeping the family name, which she doesn't have.
Well, Either way, she's going to say that it was the truth.
We've got a meeting with at UCLA today,
we
haven't we?
have,
At 6
yes.
p.m. Was it 6 p.m. or was it
Oh, that's right.
with Ayres?
Yeah.
Oh, with not with that. Was it with Ayres
No,
or was it with
No, it was
with
Dr.
McDunn?
Yeah.
You have indeed got a meeting with McDonald.
That's a fair old trip out to the farmland.
Correct.
yeah, another day maybe.
Bear with me 1 minute. Just AFK.
I haven't got the note of when we're meeting him.
I haven't got the time, but I do have the.
Well, let's
Got
assume
UCLA
that
arranged.
it was probably close to the end of lectures, so 3 p.m. onwards.
Do you know, I've got a bit in my head about having to rush to do something while it's still there, because I always have this feeling if I don't do it now, someone's going to build on it overnight. I have the same thing with sales.
Yes, heading to UCLA is probably the best bet now.
Definitely, yeah. So we'll jump in the car and head there.
Okay. UCLA it is. Another hour or so passes. You arrive back at UCLA. I assume you'll take some time, maybe half an hour for lunch.
Oh yes, I was going to say that. Yeah.
And then get yourself over to UCLA for about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The UCLA obviously is a really large, it's a fairly large environment. You kind of pull into the main courtyard, whatever, quad, etc., wherever cars are, and head into one of the main buildings. There is a directory services available. You take a look at the directory services, and you notice straight away that George Ayres is listed as having an office in one of the buildings, 1, 2, 3. Bear with me a second. 1, 2, 3. Dodd Hall.
Whose office is that, sir?
George Ayres is listed as having an office at 123 Dodd Hall. In the directory.
Okay, I'm going to go through the directory and see if there's any other names jump out.
Yes, head of the history department appears to be a Hamish McDunn. He is listed at having an office at 112 Dodd Hall. Seems that Dodd Hall is the faculty building for history and antiquities.
Okay.
Just any other names that jump out at us? If
Like
there are any.
Gold doors.
No, you want to check maths for that though. Good call.
Yeah.
No. The only other thing you notice is a Miss Samantha Burnish, listed as History Department Secretary. And her office is nominally listed as 110 Dodd Hall.
Okay, well, our appointment was with McDunn, Hamish, so we'll head there first.
Okay.
So I think he said there was something strange going on, or something you need to talk to about Ayres, wasn't there?
You arrive up into Dodd Hall. It's a fairly large building, probably covers maybe 4 floors. Nothing much is bigger than 4 floors in reality. And very much like the US do, right? 1 represents first floor, which is ground floor. So 110 actually is an office just off the main entrance area into Dodd Hall. And as you kind of come in, you hear this rather prim and somewhat posh voice, female voice. Yes, may I help you, gentlemen?
Oh, hello there. We have an appointment with Dr. McDunn.
May I take names, please?
Certainly. My name's Joseph West. Westmore, I was right. I was second myself, sorry.
You've been drinking this morning, Joseph, again.
Yeah, I should have been. Yes.
Out of the hip flask. Yes, Mr. Westmore, we have you here. Yes, you are a few minutes late for your appointment, but nonetheless, Dr. McDunn will be in his office, please. 2 doors to the right.
Why, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You go down 2 doors to the right. Literally, it's the first door is door 110, which is obviously her office. Second door is door 112, and it says Dr. McDunn, head of faculty history.
Look at the other side of the corridor. Is that the odd numbers offices?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 would be down there on the
Correct.
right office. Okay.
Yeah, down on the left-hand side. Yeah.
Knock on the door and.
Door opens, and you are greeted by a partly balding gentleman, probably in his mid to late 50s, perhaps, maybe a little bit older. Hard to place. Clean shaven, spectacles, round rims, very well tailored kind of tweed like smoking jacket, and just general kind of not quite matching slacks. He's got a cigarette in his hand as he opens the door. Yes? Mr. Westmore, I take it.
Indeed, and I'll hold my hand out.
He kind of transfers the cigarette to his other hand, and takes your hand and shakes it. Gentlemen, please come in.
Thank you.
He sits down behind his thing. He's got 3 chairs lined up at the other side of the desk. He sits down in his chair. You all sit down. First thing he does, he grabs his packet of cigarettes and shakes a couple out and offers them around.
No, thank you.
I'll take one.
They're Camels.
Because we all know it's good for you. It relaxes the lungs.
It does, yes.
And the larynx.
Yeah. Ralph will be looking to see if there's a bookcase in here.
There are several bookcases, yes.
Yeah, I'll just peruse whilst they're sorting themselves out.
So, gentlemen, I understand you are here to speak to Professor Ayres.
Indeed, yes. And you sounded a bit sceptical over the phone, or a bit concerned. Is it something we should be aware of?
Well, how do I put this delicately? I'm not sure where the good professor is right now.
Oh, which room is it at, I'm assuming?
No. I don't know whether... I don't first of all know whether he's alive or dead, or what country he might find himself in right this moment. He has, how do you say it, stopped sending correspondence since he went on his sabbatical in 1924.
Okay, that's a long time to keep his office open.
I'm a bit stammered by this. Yes.
Indeed.
When was the last time you heard from him then? In 1924.
Hold on, let me double check. 1 second. Blah 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 blah. Got it. Right. That's a good question. I believe for 2 or 3 years he was sending information, and then in 20. Oh God, where is it? Yes. Certainly we were getting regular correspondence from him in the early part of 24, and then gradually it got more and more sporadic. So by the time 25 rolled around, no, you mention it. Maybe 1 or 2 pieces from him in 25, and then I don't think I've had anything since then. I'd have to take a look. But of course, we've never been formally informed by the police that Professor Ayres had passed away, and so I haven't really seen the need to remove him from the faculty list. Those of you with assess honesty,
yeah,
he's hiding something.
Okay. What aren't you telling us?
How are you kind of trying to get that out of him?
Let's think.
While you're doing, I'm going to just gently ask, do you know where these correspondence came from?
Give me a 1 point spend in assess honesty. He pauses for a few seconds. Well, personally, I think 1 or 2 things has happened to old George. Either he met an unforeseen end, a demise, if you were. I mean, after all, Ethiopia is not the most safest of places to be.
Ethiopia, you say?
Indeed. Or he went native. Perhaps he fell in love with a woman out there and decided to live like an Ethiopian.
You know why he went to Ethiopia?
Yes, he had asked for permission to take part in a rather interesting dig.
It wasn't looking in the into the Axum Polythesian Empire, was it?
What was he doing in Ethiopia? He doesn't. Sorry, bit of an idiot here.
That's what was linked to the protection symbol against scrying. Just so you know where I've got that from. And that's the Northeast Africa, Southeast Arabia, which is Ethiopia. So
yeah. He says, I don't know. It was just some kind of ancient dig site. No, you can't. I don't really. I can't remember precisely the nature. I just remember that he'd asked for a leave of absence to attend to a dig in Ethiopia.
Do you know whereabouts in Ethiopia? You haven't got a location or anything?
I would need to have a look at the itinerary that he sent me.
Could there be something in his office that would tell you?
He picks up the telephone, rings. Miss Burnish? Yes. Could you bring me the ERS file, please? And thank you. He puts it down. After sort of 5 minutes, there's a quiet knock on the door, and Miss Burnish comes in with a small file, and she puts it on the desk. And he starts to pull out. He says, "Yes. For instance, here it is. His itinerary. Let's see. Right, you have to ignore this because bits of this are. If I was doing this face to face, I would print this out, fold it up, and make it look like a proper itinerary. So it doesn't quite work. So you'll have to squeeze your head a little bit.
I'm one of those weird people that can read no matter what angle it is.
So it seems like he's going Cairo, Alexandria, Nassau.
Manchester, Bombay, Calcutta, Perak, Rawalpindi, Lake Kashmir, Marseille, Cairo.
What a hell of a trip.
He was travelling by rail, zeppelin, aircraft, small boat, 90 days, commencing 22 June 1923, with a destination map for Ethiopia and Eritrea. What was the place you mentioned?
No, it's the Polynesian thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mine was the old.
Did you say Axum?
Axum Polynesian Empire from the 4th century.
So if you notice on that map, Axum is listed.
Yeah. Top of Ethiopia.
Top of Ethiopia, yeah. But it doesn't look like it was there because it just says Nassau arrival, present documentation, guide to depart after bringing to site and introducing to Bartolo Acuna. So it must have been somewhere in the region, in the vicinity of Nassau.
Yeah, which is Eritrea.
Yeah. He also says, he's kind of looking through things, and he says, interesting. It seems like the last telegram I received was a little after August. Sorry. Towards the end of August. And he kind of pulls it out and he hands it across to you.
Good old Western Union.
$100 Dodd Hall. I was almost right on getting his. I couldn't remember if I'd seen his address or not. So he was in 100 Dodd Hall. There you go. All right. Or maybe she's in 100 Dodd Hall. It doesn't matter.
Echeverria auction. Lot 18.
Okay.
Did you acquire lot 18?
Yes, absolutely. We spent a pretty penny on it, I do say. But fortunately, having a member of faculty on staff means that we can obviously claim the necessary bursaries. So I trust, gentlemen, that you will keep our little discussion between ourselves, shall we say? As far as the wider faculty here are concerned, the good professor is still out on dig site.
So is lot 18 here? Did it ever get shipped over?
Can we peruse it?
Yes, it is in the library. Gentlemen, yes, we can definitely arrange for you to peruse the lot. You wouldn't, of course, be able to take the books from the library, but we can certainly arrange for you to peruse things.
Yeah.
There was something about, something about a maw there. Did it say?
Yeah, Rift of Maw. Are you investigating into the disappearance or the whereabouts of Mr. Ayres, perhaps? You're not police,
no.
are you?
No. Not anymore.
Well, perhaps I can have Miss Burnish take you down to the library and arrange for your access. And if you wish, I can bring what things we still have of Professor Ayres down to you.
That would be very kind of you.
Okay.
Could be worse then. He says, "Are you police?" We could say, "No, we're IRS." Be like, thanks for telling us that, though.
Is there anything you can tell us about Echavaria? The volumes of great interest in Echavaria auction. What or who was Echavaria?
As far as I know, he was a friend of George's. Occasionally would be here. I'd often see him with that scrawny fella, the maths guy.
Job.
I don't recall his name, but perhaps so. Yes, they would often take themselves off to George's office or down into the library. And
okay, so the name hasn't got any historical importance. I read that as it was an auction regarding a historical figure.
I'm assuming this was a purchase of somebody's estate.
Indeed, it was Mr. Echevaria's estate. Mr. Echevarria, when his things were auctioned after his unfortunate death, I say Mr. Ayres was very keen to secure some of the books from that collection. If I recall, there were other books as well, but these were the ones that he specifically asked for us to secure.
You say his unfortunate death. How did he die?
I can't remember. A fire, I think.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I was getting confused here. I was thinking he was getting something out in Ethiopia and getting it shipped over. Right, okay, this is asking for Varia's estate.
Yeah, it's literally 15 days after he died, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking this was sent later on. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes, what wonderful, Professor McDunn. If you could send those down to my esteemed colleagues here in the library, that'd be wonderful.
Indeed. Well, gentlemen, I have a number of students awaiting some of my time. By all means, stay in the library as long as you wish. It's open until 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock this evening. I trust you find what you're looking for, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
Hopefully, we'll shed some light on Professor Ayres' location.
Indeed. Miss Burnish takes you down to the library. A few moments later, another gentleman, a younger gentleman, comes down with a box in his hand. The box is only about this big, not too big. And it just has a lid on it, and it just says Ayres across the top. It places that down your table. Inside, you can find a number of things. First of all, there is kind of a receipt for the purchase of at the auction of conducted by 1 second. So now you see I've got all my notes all over the place again. Bloody hell. Yeah. So some bits that are not in the book, and there were other bits that are all over my notes here. Bear with me, I'm sorry for not having the detail. Magnificent Villa Auction Services. The list to purchased by UCLA a princely sum of $127.37. The following books: Cults of the Aksumite Empire, Fishing the River of Stars, Rift of the Moor, Unaussprechlichen Kulten, and Ziggurats of the Pre-Helladic period. Just so you don't have to scribble it all down, I will give you...
You sod. After I scribbled it all down.
Okay. There is also, in this book, where are we? 17, 15, 16. Autographed photo of Olivia Clarendon. George, thanks for all your help. And an address book.
Address book would be interesting.
Flicking through it, you find Raymond Echevaria's address, the Highland Park address, and an address for a farm. An old phone, and an Italian address for Bartolo Acuna.
That's a new name.
Have a look at the photo of Olivia, and just to make sure to put my mind at rest, it is Olivia.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not Agatha.
It is that photo that I showed you earlier. That very photo. As on the back it says. There is also a research book, like a thick notebook with a number of leaves that kind of fall out.
That's actually a book. My word.
What is an actual book?
That Unaussprechlichen Kulten.
I was going to Google that
It's
too.
It's a short story
also,
collection.
Yeah, it's also a well-known book that's part of the Cthulhu mythos as well.
Yeah, Robert E. Howard.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll be looking at that later.
Cults of the Aksumite Empire, Fishing of the River of Stars, Rift of the Moor, and Ziggurats of Pre-Helladic period. And you have these research notes, which if you skim through, it seems to be concerning Golgoroth, also known as the Fisher from Outside and the Liar from Beyond. The earliest notes seem to indicate that these are one and the same, but later notes seem to involve an understanding of duality in their nature, possibly indicating that Golgoroth is in some way the herald or harbinger of the liar. You can take the book away and spend time reading it, if you wish.
What was that other name in the address book? Bartolo
Acuna.
Okay. Well, it's up to you enough because there's no way I'd make head nor tail of it.
Yeah, I'll be spending points on that, I think, to get through them. Taking good notes.
You speak German? For these other books.
I'm going to say yes because my name's Haas and my family were German.
That would make sense.
which is a happy coincidence.
Yeah. I hadn't paid attention to your surname, but yeah, that makes sense.
If you can spend a couple of hours and a 1 point library use or evidence collection to pore over and read in detail as research.
Right.
But that would mean you wouldn't have time to inspect any of these books.
Right. I'll do the evidence collection because I've got no library use points left.
Do you have a camera on you?
Yep.
How much film do you have? I
honestly don't know.
Because I was going to suggest, if possible, just take photos of the pages in the book and if that's possible.
Some of the pages, maybe. I doubt.
The research it's not lengthy. So that's why it'll only take him a couple of hours.
Right. I'll go through the rest of the evidence. And anything that we need copies of, I'll take photos of as needed.
No problem. No problem at all.
Spending points left, right, and centre here.
That's why you have them.
Yeah. That's all my library use. That's all my assessed honesty. And my collection is all gone.
It's interesting to know that he wasn't in the country when August 14th happened.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's alive. Or was alive. We don't know anymore.
Ooh,
okay.
Microfilm exists, so microfiche doesn't, but microfilm does.
Okay.
All right, so you have the books. They are going to be pretty tricky to get any real detail out of them unless you want to try and convince the doctor to let you take them. That's going to be a tough ask.
How much would we need to donate to the orphans fund?
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, give him a deposit or yeah. I'm going to leave these two to it, and I will. Yeah, hearing this that we may need to borrow the book, I will head to the professor's room again, and hopefully he's not dealing with a student when I walk in.
So is the evidence collection to get the relevant information, or is there something else in there that...
Okay, so the evidence collection allows you to get to the heart of what his journal and research notes are talking about.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I've spent the point in library use to be starting to go through these books and take my own notes, if you know what I mean.
The books or the notes?
I'm looking against the notes against the books.
Okay.
So clashing them against
I've got the
each
evidence collection for the heart of the notes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I can...
There you go. So that's his notes. as you dig into them, it will take you about an hour actually to go through the notes. There's less than 100 pages, but there is some decent information in there.
Is that 1922 actually 1922, or is it 1924 like?
1922.
Okay. Oh, Shroud of the Bloated One.
Joseph, what were you planning on doing?
I was going to go to the professor again and see if there's any way we could borrow these books.
So you've spent a couple of hours down in the library now. The professor has finished. You head up and you are greeted by his secretary, and she tells you that yes, the doctor is still in residence, and she takes you through this time because he wasn't expecting you. Knock on the door, you go in. Mr. Westmore, is there something I could help you with?
I'm really hoping so. My colleagues are still going through the books that you have acquired via the auction, and of course the professor's bits and pieces you sent down to us. But sadly, we won't have enough time to go through them tonight. I was hoping that perhaps with a well, if it'd be possible to borrow them, to have a look on our own time.
Well, they they are certainly books that we try to discourage our students from researching. And it was kind of, they were hidden, almost hidden in the back of the library, in a section of books that don't really have any meaning of being together. From Ralph's eyes, these have probably been just shoved on a shelf alongside books yet to be catalogued and books yet to have a place in the library. And this library is probably, it's a good sized library, a couple of 100 feet at least by several 100 feet long, dozens and dozens of shelves of books, of all kinds, from modern current books all the way back to books sort of thinking of the late 1800s, but certainly trying to gather a lot of modern thinking and recent historical thinking. I'm sure I could see my way to allow you to take the books. Now, I presume you'd be returning them to us in good faith after you're done with them?
We certainly will. Yes, you have my word on that.
Very good. Perhaps, as they cost a significant portion of the budget, perhaps you would be prepared to pay a small deposit on them just to be sure that you return them?
Well, the fact I would return them is not in doubt.
By all means, Mr. Westmore, I don't mean to call your honesty and integrity into question, but obviously...
But I do understand that, I quite accept a small deposit would be there just in case any accidental damage or anything like that happens, heaven forbid, which, we hope wouldn't, but the weather these days, you never know when it's going to rain, do you?
No. Shall we call it $25?
If you're quite happy with that, then $25 certainly. We'll do that for you.
I will have Miss Burnish draw up a receipt for the monies, and I will absolutely. And he grabs a piece of paper and letter-headed paper. Very quickly, he just writes to the librarian. These undersigned these books. These gentlemen, Mr. Westmore has permission to take these 5 books from the library to be returned at a time convenient to himself.
That's
signed, blah blah blah. And you go to Miss Burnish, you pay the $25. She gives you a receipt for it. On return of this receipt, you will be plus the books. You'll be entitled to $25 back. You go back down to the library and are able to take the books with you.
Should have just bought them, shouldn't I? That's wonderful. Yes.
So you just make a note that you have those 5 books in your possession. Each book approximately has between. Let's have a look. Let's do this. So just in a quick look, just so you know. So typically, you can skim a book. It takes approximately 1 hour per 100 printed pages. Or if you spend 1 point of library use, you can half that time. So 200 pages per hour, 100 pages per half an hour. Each of the books probably averages between 100 and 300 pages. So if you say a couple of them are 100 to 200 pages, one of them's 350 pages, and the other 2 are sort of between 200 and 300 pages, gives you a rough idea of how much time you need to spend. If you wish to pore over a tome, it generally says takes place between an adventure. So I would say if you want to pore over it. So often when you read a tome, there'll be either no benefit for skimming it other than you get the gist of what it's telling you about, or there might be a minor benefit. And if you pore over it, you will get a significant benefit. So I'll give you a quick example. One of the books, without telling you which one, will give you, if you skim it, will cost you a 1 point mythos stability test. If you pore over it, it's a 4 point, but but as a result of reading through that book and taking that test, you gain a dedicated set of points for any investigative ability involving a specific thing, right? Without me telling you what the thing is, that points to what book it is, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Some of them might, for instance, award you a point of Cthulhu mythos and other things.
Okay, so where you said a mythos test, how would you make a mythos test if you haven't got Cthulhu mythos?
Good point. So shall we have a look?
I've got Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah, but you haven't got 4 points, which is one of the spends for poring over it.
Yeah, so that's how many. So So it's a mythos test. You will lose. Right. So how it typically works from memory is a mythos test will cost both immediate stability loss and sanity loss.
Okay.
So a 4-point mythos test is quite high, actually.
Yeah.
Good job I don't read
Yeah,
those
you're getting all
books.
these things, but you're instantly insane.
Absolutely, yeah, makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Checks his sanity.
Yeah, I've just been checking my sanity and stability.
Be happy in knowledge I'll put you next to Olivia in the hospital.
Sanity's 8.
I've got sanity 9. Stability's currently at 8.
So whilst it's still a stability test. It's a mythos-driven stability test, which has slightly different connotations to a non-mythos. It's a 4-point loss of stability. So that's quite kind of in the mid-range, really. Examples of that, you see a supernatural creature close. When you lose sanity, let's have a look. When your stability drops to between 0 and -5, your sanity rating drops by 1 point.
Okay.
And it keeps going. So if your stability drops to between -6 and -11, your sanity drops by a further 2 points. So you can only ever lose 1 or 2 sanity points. So essentially what this is, it's a 4-point mythos stability test, so it's still a stability test, but it's driven by the mythos. And obviously, the worst case scenario here is you could potentially lose 4 points of stability by reading it. The other way, by the way, to lose sanity is if you use your Cthulhu Mythos skill.
So you just gained a points in Cthulhu Mythos, but it's
You
got
can't
off.
use it.
Right. See, I'm just looking at my source of stability to get it back, and it's like my wife, fellow vet, and George Sullivan, so Dart's character's husband. So
Yeah.
where we are at the moment, my stability is nowhere near me.
You can just ring
No.
your wife.
Pardon?
You ring your wife, can't you?
Yeah, well, I could ring any of them, I suppose, but
Yeah.
Okay, so to
Well,
wrap up tonight, to wrap up this evening then, so you take the books, and essentially you take the books. Ralph is very happy, and
Yeah.
you head back to your hotel.
Are we able to take the notes as well?
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
You can take the notes, you can take the itinerary, you can take any of that information. You can take the address book as well.
yeah, we've got a bit more of the information as to where the dig site is. It's in Dalal in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And we've got the address of Bartolo, who's one of the other archaeologists that was going there as well. That's in the address book.
We've also got the correspondence with the guy in Madrid, so if we end up going to Ethiopia, we may end up going to Madrid first.
Yeah, that's Bartolo.
Yeah.
But whether he'll be there, because he was planning a dig out there as well, he may have gone at the same time as theirs and also been missing. Thank you.
And that, gentlemen, as you return back to the hotel and spend the rest of the night in your little cottages discussing the books, the things that you've discovered, is where we will call it a night. And we will start on the 10th at approximately 9 a.m.
When Ralph's on the cusp of going wibble.
Wibble, wibble, wibble.
You got plenty of sanity. At this rate, I may end up rejoining you, but I've got no library use points to spend at the moment to help. Until I start getting some of those back.
Oh, I'm ever so lucky. I've got 2 left.
Yeah, bear in mind, things like that won't refresh until the end of the Los Angeles arc.
Yeah.
So
Let's leave now.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of the abilities that I'm likely to need here. They've already gone now.
I think the next thing is looking at the researching into these, but possibly going to is the farm the next place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to see what's left of it there.
Yeah.
See if there's any evidence. Like the remains of the farmhouse and barn, if they're still there, there might be some clues in that.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to track down the auction as well to find out where items went to if a certain collector bought.
What else was sold?
Yeah.
Things like, again, going back to the chair, but if somebody bought that knowing what it was.
Yeah. Like
Kinky
haven't we got
bastard.
the ritual dagger? We've got one dagger or something.
We have the stone dagger, yeah.
Yeah. There
The
might be
axe-
more.
axe dagger.
there's one person as well. You've got one other name that you've skirted around and you've not yet decided you want to go and speak to them.
Is that the sister? The sister.
Nope.
No.
Oh, the accountant.
Oh, sorry, yes. We've got his address as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
May I suggest the accountant is high on your list of people to speak to?
Yeah,
Absolutely, because he'll be able to break down.
Yeah, he's the one I wanted
going on.
to see more than the sister.
Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah, he'll know what N is as well.
You
Yeah.
want to know what N is?
Narcotics.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
that's on.
Oh, so that, yes. So I will plan for you to do that next week.
Awesome.
If we do end up going to Ethiopia, can we arrange to do a little map with a red dotted line of a plane going across like Indiana Jones?
I think that's a no.
No, actually, what
We want a cutscene, an animation
Yes.
on the feed. That's what we want.
So
No.
if we weren't doing this in a VTT, I can kind of do that.
You've got little planes, haven't you?
Hang on, we've got very talented people, haven't we? Somewhere.
Yeah.
Should be able to do this for us.
So I do have there is a map for this, which it's a PDF map with layers, and if you open a layer up, it shows you kind of where you are. What I should do is get it out and actually do that, so that I can't step through the layers, unfortunately, in Foundry, but I can have a static map that says this is where you are and these are the things you've picked. Because from memory, each of the layers also contains a few photographs and clues of things that you've discovered in the previous location.
Right.
So I should put that up. I just need to screen grab it. But yeah, it'd be cool, wouldn't it? I just need a map of the world and a little aeroplane.
Yeah.
Just seeing if there's a generator. Red line map.
There
Gotta
must
be
be
some. Gotta be somewhere, aren't there?
I'm going to keep the boyfriend's
Worst
computer
case, you
upstairs.
can make a animated GIF
Yeah, I was going to do some similar.
picture and just put a dot, and then the next frame, a second dot, and
Pixel map generator. What's that?
It's probably from Minecraft.
Yeah, probably. So I think you are about 2/3 of the way through the final part of Act 1.
Whoa. That's the wonderful thing about doing investigation is the fact that you don't know how close you are, or how far away you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you try to hold your skills back just in case you need them for something more important. Yeah.
And as you learn the game, that's exactly what you'll start doing.
Yeah.
Is you will start holding things back because you think, actually, I really need to keep this back for this.
But then again, you might miss something important.
Correct. Remember, the way this system works is you will always find the core clues by just having the skill.
Yeah.
And kind of explaining how you use it. The spends allow you to get extra information. Or in the case of tonight, you were a little bit off-piste. So I made you spend the skill points to get the answer to the questions because you were a little bit off the beaten track, as it were.
Yeah.
It's always nice to know how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
I don't think it really is. That description, after knowing what's in them, maybe not. It's interesting trying to anticipate where to spend your XP as well. Right,
Oh, God,
am I going to need this anytime soon? And spending it on the relevant things.
No,
Exactly.
I don't do that. I tend to go what my character is going to be like. It's like I've been using flattery and and things that reassure us.
Yeah. Well, I put points in. I actually spent points in first aid, thinking we're going to have trouble at some point, as after the car tries to run us off the road and things.
Yeah. I'm going to
Not
put a
needing
few
that yet.
points into sanity. All of them.
I was going to say, can you put points in
I
sanity?
don't think you can.
I don't think you can.
No.
Sanity and stability are the two that you can't.
By the way, just because you guys are awesome, let me share this with you. Ignore the date. Ignore the 1933. That should be 1923.
Notebook 4.
Yeah.
It's a bit blurred. I'm trying to make it out.
Yeah, the cover is blurred.
Right.
That's how it is, unfortunately.
Right.
But
It's like
this is basically
Egyptian.
it's the same detail that I gave you in the detail of his book, but it's got a few more cool pictures and shit in it,
Look at the mask.
which I thought you would like.
Nice.
Yeah. See, you're bringing Vampire the Masquerade early. The mask's already there.
Vampires. Just double checking. So, what were the books you picked up?
All the books.
It was from the top. It was the Fishing the River of Stars.
Yeah.
Rift of the Moor.
Yeah.
Ulgeslagen Colton.
Yeah.
And Ziglets of the pre-Helladic period.
Got it.
And there was one more, which was the Cults of Ascumi.
An Aussprechlichen Colton is by Frederick Wilhelm von Juntz.
How to make the Indiana Jones map animation. There you go.
You've been just looking for that. We got the boy whack on Syntric drawing screen, and he doesn't use it. And I keep popping up there every now and again and using it, and it's like I must get some animation stuff for it.
Need a nice world map, a nice little silver aeroplane, nice sepia map, nice little silver aeroplane, and some animation and little red dots, and that's
I'm going to draw a map, get the boy to get a little metal plane and lay under the map with a magnet. And
Move
I'll
it.
just video it.
Just so you know, Zed,
Yeah.
that book that you showed, the pictures are links that take you to sites. I don't know whether they give too much away.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
I was trying to figure out what the picture of that snake type thing is.
Oh,
Clicks on it and it says redirect.
I'll tell you if it's going to tell me too much. Oh, look, there's the book, Rift of the Moor. Does it? It doesn't seem to do anything when I click on it.
I did. I clicked on the picture with the snake type thing.
Oh, yeah. It's Carwheel. A main deity identified with lightning snake. I don't think it matters. I think it's probably just a link in that book of where picture was pulled from.
Ah, yeah, could be.
Right.
All right, gentlemen.
Same time next week?
Same time next week, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
And the same time on Thursday.
And the same time on Thursday.
We will be back because we missed last Thursday, so we'll be back this Thursday to all get our brains eaten.
Yeah, you're stuck with me again.
Yay!
Yeah.
Who are we missing?
Guy.
Oh, bless him.
He posted in D&D earlier on asking me to cover.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
No, that's good. So thanks all for watching, and we'll see you. Yeah. And we'll see you Thursday for D&D, and Monday for more Call of Cthulhu.
Bye, everybody.
Laters.
Good night.
Bye.